With the return of Samurai Jack, there seems to be no better time to talk about one of its defining influences. But first let's talk about Yasuji Mori, who graduated with a degree in architecture and would go on to be the most senior animator at Toei Doga, becoming best known for his expressive and fluent character animation, working at the company 10 years before they released their first feature, Panda and the Magic Serpent, the first coloured anime. And Mori was the key animator on this project, single-handedly drawing 87 minutes worth of key frames for all the animal characters. Yasuji was a prodigy, not to mention he and his disciples would inspire the next generation of anime, including Yasao Otsuka, Asao Takahata, Yoshi Kotabe, and Hayao Miyazaki, who after seeing Mori's work in Horus, burst into tears as he reflected on how far he had to come as an animator. If Osamu Tezuka was the god of manga, then Mori would be the god of anime. Mori even designed the Capero, which is still Toei's logo to this day. He's the man that built this company's legacy, and his crowning achievement at Toei would be the feature Little Prince and the Eight-Headed Dragon. Little Prince was based on several of the most famous Shinto myths, focusing on Susanoo's search for his mother to bring her back from the afterlife. Most of the tales were accurately recreated, though parts were changed to fit a broader narrative. This does lead to the film feeling tangential at times, especially when it comes to the animal characters that Toei requested be in the film. Toei would market this as a Japanese fairy tale in the West, though it didn't do well, which may have led to the company's decision to focus on more Eurocentric fairy tales further down the line. While the film may not have been the biggest financial success, it was an artistic one. Unlike the house style used in previous Toei films, Little Prince had a modernist look, with an Western influence on top of its Eastern, such as in the background inspired by Warner Brothers' output in the late 50s. And from the work of Ivan Earl, it was bold, bright, and colourful, with an abstract nature flowing from each of Susanoo's adventures. This made Prince stand out from the other films in the crowd, expressing a lot of atmosphere within each scene. At times it was serene and calm, while also becoming foreboding and gloomy. All this kept the style fresh after all this time, even compared to contemporary shows. The same could be said of the character designs, clean, simple, no shading or bold lines. This would be a staple of Mori's design work later on. While this style lost in detail, it gains in fidelity. From a design perspective, these characters have strong silhouettes, colour balance, and defining use of shapes, which all leads to memorable designs, going on to inspire many people. As the animation director, Mori was in charge of all parts of the animation process, including checking if all the keyframes were on model and overlooking the whole development. Mori and his key animators would head this project to much success. This was Toei's most smooth, consistent, and inventive film thus far. While The Little Prince has animation that's not always great, when it kicks into overdrive, it's really fantastic. In particular, the animation design on the Orochi has such a dimension. It feels like if it was real. The movements are hypnotic and dynamic, with such an attention to detail. It may be the film's highest achievement. Otsuka and Sadao Sioka worked on this 15-minute cut extensively, trying to ground the unrealness of the Orochi, and succeeding in the mark. On the other hand, Miyazaki has criticised the use of flight in the scene for lacking weight compared to other films of the time like Peter Pan, which in part I do agree with. At times it can be very effective, but it is hard to get a read on the limitations of the horse's movement, and this does limit some of the tension in the scene. A lot of the animation is about the rhythm, after all, and this is key to the Little Prince's development. It follows the music like a dance. And this music was composed by Akira Ifube, the composer of Godzilla, the original, and he did a great job giving the film a baroque punch, evoking the feelings of an epic myth. It also does feel reminiscent of his earlier work, but differs enough to become its own thing. Ifuki understood the tone, having a deep knowledge of the traditional Japanese culture, as his father was a Shinto priest. Despite the grand scale of the score, it spends a lot of time being more delicate and faithful to the themes of the film. Dealing with loss, moving on, growing up, and forging your own path. A bitter path can lead to destruction, as Sasuna finds out through the film. He's trying to cope with death, especially of his mother, but he's lashing out, and in the end he has to learn there is no magical solution. The film treats his audience with maturity. He has to accept that there is no traditional happy ending, and that he just needs to learn and grow. And it might be this outlook that helped Gendy come up with a philosophy which he took Samurai Jack in, also with the amount of talking animals in the show. There's a reason I brought up influence throughout this video. Nothing comes from nowhere, and influence is a lineage of experience of the author. In the words of Kirby Ferguson, everything is a remix, and while yes, it is possible to be derivative of other people's work, but if you are striving towards your own creative vision within your muses, you can overcome that. You may even eclipse the originals that inspired you. Even with those small pitfalls throughout, Little Prince and the Eight-Headed Dragon won the Noboru Ofiji Award for Excellent Animation. This was the first feature to do so, until Miyazaki's own debut film, Castle of Cagliostro, won in 1979. It would be hard to give this film a full recommendation to a modern audience, but if you are a fan of Samurai Jack or into animation history, I think you owe it to yourself to watch it. There are some outstanding highlights, solid designs, and it's a fun time. Unfortunately, the film hasn't been in print since 2002 with a Japanese DVD, but if you have the will, there are ways to find it. Now, Mori left Toei after making several more films, and joined the animation company Nippon. But by the mid-70s, he was slowing down as an animator and focusing more on his children's book illustration. There isn't a lot of information about Mori in the West, although if you'd like to find out more, the series Shirobako has a character called Shigeru Sugi, who plays as a tribute to the life's work of Mori. Shirobako is available on Crunchyroll. Also, a lot of the research I did for this project would have been a hell of a lot harder if it wasn't for the fantastic resources of Adanush, I hope I'm saying that right, who you can find on Twitter. Thank you for watching.